Now is Steve Milloy, former Trump EPA transition team member, founder of junkscience.com. Steve, react to the angle, because look, they do wrap this up in this very laudable goal of reducing traffic fatalities, which I think everyone would like to see, a reduction in traffic fatalities. But they use that statistic from 2021 comparing to 2020 when we had major lockdowns and shutdowns across the country. How valid is that?
Well, Laura, you did a great job in the angle. You tied it all together beautifully. You know, they've hated the car for a long time. I wrote about this 13 years ago in my book, Green Hell. They're trying to figure out how to get us out of cars. They've tried climate. It's not working so well. People don't really want to buy EVs. I guess now they're going to try traffic fatalities. It doesn't make any sense. You're right. Their use of statistics is dishonest. That's nothing new. You know, people are going to be surprised when they start going back downtown to work. They're going to find that it's going to be a lot more inconvenient for cars because while we've been away during the pandemic, local governments have been making it more difficult to drive your car, park your car. Speed limits have been reduced. Parking areas have been reduced. Gasoline prices are up. You know, the government and the Biden administration especially is doing everything it can to make it more difficult to drive. Why they want to do that? They don't like cars. They don't like what cars enable, which is, as you mentioned, living in the suburbs. But
also, isn't this partly a control thing, as it was with COVID? I mean, they didn't really care about the virus when the border was open and, you know, millions of people were crossing the border without really being tested or any control. So that whole thing was a joke from the beginning. But same with this, correct? I mean, you can't just jump in an electric vehicle, at least not right now, and travel 500 miles quickly or 1,000 miles quickly.
Yeah, the internal combustion engine has given Americans more freedom, or given the whole world more freedom. You can fill up your car in 5 minutes and drive 400 miles in any direction. You can't do that with an EV. And now, the government in the infrastructure package, there's a provision in there. The government, they want the government to work on kill switches so they can turn your car off when they want. You're right. It's all about control, as is everything environmental. I've been working on environmental issues for 30 years. It's never been about the environment. It's about controlling people, what they do.
Oh, here's Jen Psaki last week on the importance of quickly ditching the fossil fuel industry. Watch.
It is a huge advantage to us to be a leader in the clean energy transition. And over the course of years and decades, we've become a clean energy superpower because ultimately that's not just where the jobs are, it's where the strategic advantage will lie in 10, 20, 30 years.
So wait a second. So they think, the White House thinks, that no one's going to be using oil in the next 10 years? Really? Well, China's going to be using oil. We know that.
Well, yeah, China's going to be using oil and coal to make all the green tech crap that, we're forced to buy here in America. We're not a clean energy superpower. China is. And, we should be the oil and gas and coal superpower. We have all the energy in the world, but Democrats don't want us to use it. They want us to become dependent on China. This whole green agenda, the more it passes, the more mandates we get for wind and solar and EVs. All it does is make us more dependent on communist China, who is our geopolitical enemy. All the materials, the vast majority of materials for green tech comes from China. And there's none of these bills or regulations that have been passed even bother to imagine that, well, we should, these materials really should come from America if we're going to be requiring them, not from communist China, because we're dependent on China.
Well, they're absolutely fine with that. You're right. Now, I have to get to this, Steve. This was also in the New York Times today. Wanting Americans to ditch beef for a certain insect. Watch.
Unless we make major adjustments to the food we eat and how we produce it, we're cooked. One of those dietary changes we need to consider might even make you a little squeamish.
And we're going to finish it off with some whole grasshoppers.
Yeah, we're talking about insects. Specifically, eating them.
Steve, they're just like handing the election to the Republicans. I think we should just run that for the next 3 years and say, do you want bacon bits or do you want that on your salad?
Well, yeah, earlier this year, I think both the New York Times and Washington Post were advocating that people eat cicadas. And I think even on CNN, one of their anchors did eat. It was gross. No, they're crazy. You're right.
Steve, they would love nothing more than to have a kill switch in the vehicles, the trucks, of the Freedom Convoy, right? They'd love to just to be able to turn them off and get them out of there, or redirect them to another location. They would love that technology right now. Then they wouldn't have to deal with the pesky people. Steve, we love having you on. Thank you.